Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm doing a review on this lockpick set. Got this one from Bud K for $9.99. It is an awesome little set. The only drawback with this, which I'll talk a little bit more later, is that this is not something you can use repeatedly, in my opinion. You can use it a few times, but eventually it's gonna break on you. Whereas some of the more expensive kits, not only do you get more variety of picks, more options in your kit, it's bigger, but the quality of the steel itself is a little bit thicker. I'll talk about that a little more later. But basically, here's your set. It's a very slim line, size of a credit card, same dimensions and everything. Obviously a little thicker than a credit card, about the thickness of 2 credit cards. But it fits very nicely in the wallet. I always recommend putting it on the inside pocket this way, sideways, as opposed to those card holders that go up and down. But anyway, it does fit in there. Just don't want to show you what I have in my wallet right now. So yeah, it's very slim line. You see on top here, all you basically have is a tray holding your picks and your tension bar. And on top you have very fine lines here, which give you a little bit of grip, okay, to slide this. You slide it off or open. Of course, you have access to it, but it's easier to take it completely off. And you see we have 2 picks on either side, and we have our double-sided or double-headed tension bar. We'll talk about that, what that's for in a minute. I have a little luggage lock here to give you a little demonstration, but of course this set will allow you to pick a variety of different locks, different types of padlocks, tumbler locks, things of that nature. This book I thought was very helpful to get the kit with the book and the pick set. What I like about this specifically is obviously it's portable. There's a lot of different pick sets out there you can keep in your pocket, but having the credit card size one, it's great to keep in the wallet, and I do keep it in my wallet just in case I ever need it. Not for illegal purposes, of course, but if I do happen to lock myself out of something, whether it's a padlock or my car or my house, I have a fighting chance of getting back in before I have to pay someone to do it for me. All right, I want to get into this little pamphlet. I found this pamphlet to be a great addition to the set, okay? Because if you can know nothing at all about lock picking or locks or how they function, how they work, anything like that, and you can read this guide, spend 25 minutes reading this thing, open your set, and you can actually get to it and pick a lock. It takes no thought after reading this. Now, of course, this is the internet. The information's at your fingertips. If you want to learn about this stuff, there's, I'm sure, massive websites with all kinds of information, forums with people talking about it. It's out there. This is a hobby just like anything else. In fact, if you're watching this video, because I know you clicked on it, if you have a channel, obviously you clicked on it, you're watching it. What I meant to say is if you're into lockpicking and you clicked on this video because you got excited because you saw the title, if your channel is dedicated to lockpicking, please write that in the comments so everyone watching this video can read that and then go subscribe to you to get more in-depth information. I am by no means an expert in lockpicking. I played around with it before when I was a teenager. I got padlocks open and stuff. You can open, doors in your house, but I'm not an expert. There's 2 types of lockpicking. There's raking and there's actually picking. All right, an amateur like myself would rake a lock open. Let me explain this so you can get a picture. Oh, by the way, reading the information here, it could be a little confusing. Having the addition to the pictures, it's 100% better, because someone who doesn't understand how locks work, they would read this and they go, huh? What? Having the picture, you go, okay, I get it. All right, there's three pictures here. The first one, this is just an example of a tumbler lock. So basically we have these driver pins. All right, let's say this is my finger's the key. The key goes in the lock. This is what it looks like if it was cut in half, okay? Here's the channel where the key would go. You can see the key in this one. But this is what it looks like without the key in. You have all these driver pins that are on springs. Okay, so they freely move up and down, but obviously with nothing in there, the spring tension's pushing them all down so they're even. When you put a key in, the teeth on the key are cut in a way so that it aligns these pins up properly. Now, this particular picture is that of a key that does not fit this lock. All right, so you see the red portions? You want all the red portions to be in a row, okay, but they're not in this case. So because they're in the way, this is, I believe, the shear line, this line in between the gray and the black here. When these are lined up, there's nothing in the way, so now you can turn the lock. Now the picture on the bottom is the proper key for this lock, and you can see how these pins fit down into all the crevices of the teeth of the key. It all lines up here on the shear line, and now this lock will rotate freely. There's no obstruction. These pins are your obstruction. That's why, the wrong key won't open your lock. So basically, just looking at these pictures, you literally take a minute staring at them, and you can take a pick and you can play around with something and you can get it. But what I was trying to say is there's two different types of lock picking. An amateur like myself would rake. You basically go in and out and kind of feel around a little bit to basically pop all these, where they're supposed to be. Whereas a true expert lock picker would actually individually pick each one of these pins. Okay, let me get to that picture again so I can show you this. Let me explain it once again. All right, so here's me. I take my pick and I basically rub back and forth, and they all kind of go in position at some point because the entire time I'm putting tension on the lock. That's an amateur, that's how it works. It'll work, it's fine, but a professional, they'll go and pick every individual pin, all right? One at a time, they'll pick it to exactly where it needs to be, and that's how they'll open the lock. But, I mean, both ways will get you to your end result, which is opening the lock. But there's definitely an amateur way of doing it, and there's a professional way of doing it. I am by no means an expert. That's why I want you guys who have your channels dedicated to this stuff to post your comments down below, and people will check you out. So anyway, the point is this guide was very good. I really liked the guide. It was kind of a refresher course for me. I have done lock picking before, but again, on a very noobish amateur level. So the guide's cool. Here's our set. Let me pop these out. You see we have 4 different picks and our tension bar. All right, now what this does is this gives us tension the entire time. So we have 2 heads on it. One's a skinny side and one's slightly wider. And what you do is you put this in the lock and you put tension on it. That's why it's called a tension bar. So basically, as you're picking, whatever pick you're using, as you're moving this back and forth, trying to align all those pins in there, in this particular lock, there's tension on it. So when they line up, it will open, okay? That's the purpose of this. This is your fake key. This is putting tension on it. Just like a normal key, when you turn it, it puts tension. So this is our fake key in here. And obviously with this small lock, I'm gonna use the small end as opposed to the fat one, because it's not gonna fit. It's not gonna give me room. Well, it fits in there, but it's not gonna give me room to put the pick in and out. So in this case, well, for this particular lock, it's so small, it's not gonna bend my pick. I'm not gonna use this. But let's say we have a normal doorknob or something, a tumbler lock. We want to keep constant tension on there and then use whatever pick we're using to go in there and do our job. Okay, but that's what this piece is for. Besides that, we have 4 different style picks. We have a half diamond, which is a very common style. And again, the purpose of all these picks are to align all the pins that are on springs. This one's actually, I think, the most universal style, and I believe this is a style of a rake. And I've had an individual pick before that I got, I believe, from Bud K years and years ago. It was blue, it was like the shape of a pen. You know what, I know I have it somewhere still, and I should have brought it out to show this video, but that just had one. It had one pick in it, and this is the pick it had. And actually the pocket clip was the tension bar. I might have shown that in a really old video. But anyway, this was a style pick, and I can use this pick for anything. Without the torsion bar, I can use this in this lock to be able to open this. There you go. So it's a very universal head, as you can see there. I'll try that again. You can see it's fully locked. This is a cheapo little luggage lock. And there you go. All right, very simple to do. This pick, a cheapo lock like this, in this guide, you'll be picking it in 5 minutes, not even. So anyway, yes, very universal pick for that. This is more for professionals. Of course, you can use this, to pick your locks, but this is going to be for more individual picking. Playing around with each individual pin. It's not necessarily used for raking. This would be counterproductive just because of the shape. It would not be very easy. This is a rake. Well, this just mimics all different types of teeth. And again, where you're raking in and out of the lock. Okay, that's where you're mimicking a key going in, and by having tension on the lock the whole time, you're bouncing those little pins around, and when they line up properly, it'll of course open your lock. So what I use the most is this pick right here. Again, extremely universal for raking anyway, and I use the half diamond. Okay, so here's a closer shot of the different picks, the different styles. Now, the one thing I wanted to point out with this set, and I really like this set because it is a credit card shape and size, and it's very easy to carry in your wallet, or in your pocket. I love all that. The only downside to this is I think that they're kind of flimsy. Again, it's only a $10 set, but I do find that they could have been thicker. I would have liked this set a lot more. Even if they only had 2 picks, but each pick was a lot thicker, so it's more durable for long-term use. This is all stamped stainless steel. But if you look at these picks, I'll take one of them, you can see how thin these are, all right? And not necessarily the handle portion here, but the pick itself, I mean, they're flexible, but they will bend. And if you were to crank on this, particularly if you don't know what you're doing and you go into a lock and you really you crank on it, it will bend it, okay? And it'll bend it out of shape to the point where it's no longer usable. I would honestly say that if you're halfway knowing what you're doing, if you read the guide and you know what you're doing and you kind of baby these a little bit, you could probably get a couple dozen uses out of these before they bend out of shape. But what I noticed is that the tension bar is a lot thicker. Let me put these next to each other so you can see the difference. Now, if each pick was as thick as that tension bar, I'd be a lot happier because this will last a very long time. Obviously, they made this thicker because you're putting a lot of tension on it. You don't want it to bend. You want the stiffness in a thicker piece of stainless like this. I really would have liked, and here's where the compromise comes in, is that obviously if these 4 were thicker, they wouldn't fit into this same exact little setup here, this kit. So even though it's supposed to be slim and everything, I'd much prefer all 4 of these being as thick as this and this tension bar being even thicker and the overall package maybe being an extra, 2 millimeters or whatever. I would have preferred that, slightly fatter, but I get that it is what it is. They want to make it slim, and this is just how they did it. It is totally functional. It does work well. It's just not a long-term pick set. It's not something you can use hundreds and hundreds of times and still have them in the same shape. I do think that they're going to bend out of shape, particularly if you don't know what you're doing and you need some room to practice. So overall, I like the set. It's just not great for long-term use. You can see how these go in here. There's 2 picks on each side. The handle portions go where obviously the fatter cutout is. It's the only way it's going to fit. Yeah, it serves its purpose. They work well. I think there's a good variety of picks here. I just much prefer it to be thicker. But like I said, I mean, you're getting thinner pieces because it's a thinner package overall. But it works. I think this is a great setup. If you happen to be ordering from Bud K already, you're getting some cheap knife or something for $9.99. I think this is a definite add to your order. It's really fun to play around with, and once you kind of get a hang of it and you start learning how to pick locks, especially some of the easier ones like these little luggage locks and stuff, or even just some larger padlocks, it's fun. It's impressive. Anyway, this thing is going back in my wallet. That's where it's going to reside. It's always good to have a lockpick set on you. It could be something really simple or something really important. You may not be an expert. You may not put in the time and effort to really learn the craft and the art of lockpicking. But even if you learn just some things like I have, you might be able to get out of a bind. Who knows what. I've only actually used my lockpicking skills. I don't know if you can even call them skills, but I used them once to open a lockbox at my friend's house that he lost the key to when I was in high school. And not like it really mattered. I think he only had like 200 bucks in there, but he was saving his money in one of those cheapo Walmart lock boxes. They're basically like, it's just a metal box, and it has a tumbler lock in the front and has like a tray inside for your coins and bills. And he lost the key and he was trying to break it open. I'm like, don't break it open. I'm like, I could pick that. He's like, what? No, you can't. And of course I did, and it was very impressive, and I felt like Mr. Cool. So all the time spent learning how to do this was worth it in that moment. But anyway, it has its practical uses. We have locks on everything, everywhere. So it's just good to know how to overcome a key if you ever need to, in case you do lose a key. Who knows, maybe you save a couple bucks instead of having to call a locksmith because you're locked out of your house or your car or something else. Now vehicles, that's a whole separate thing to get a set of like vehicle tumblers. I may do that in the future. That is a whole different thing. And of course, it's going to be a lot easier with some of the older cars as opposed to some of the newer cars. But regardless, I thank you very much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you soon. Take it easy.